I guys have a treat for you today because I am talking to someone who is literally taking functional medicine to the next level. Like, oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how excited I am about his new book here, The DNA Way. Unlock the secrets of your genes to reverse disease, slow aging, and to achieve optimal wellness. Because this book will literally take your healing and what you thought, even about your personality, right, to the next level. Because what we are taught is that even in medicine, as medical doctors, that there is a one set algorithm that you plug. Like if somebody comes in with diabetes, this is the algorithm. So I think mentally that's the way that we even sometimes even view functional medicine. Like, okay, everybody gets this diet, everybody gets this. But this then blew it out of the water that even those medications, even like your personality, even the food that you eat, everything should be personalized. So thank you again for writing this amazing book. But please tell me first your inspiration, because this is amazing. Everybody needs to get this book. I'm going to put the link here, and the link is also in the description. But please tell me your background and how you came up with all of this science and understanding of DNA.
That's a big question.
I'm here. I love it.
And that was really why the book needed to be written, because I actually don't come from this space. I am a layman, let's say. I don't have a scientific background, no medical background, but I was sick and I healed myself, and I had to heal myself because the clinicians I was going to didn't have the right toolkit, right? So all of a sudden at 38, I'm 43 now, by the way. At 38, I had 5 chronic conditions, right? And I had 5 different doctors and 5 different pills. And I was being told 5 different things. And I just kept asking why. Why is this stuff happening? It just, to me, that was the logical next place to go. All this stuff happened at once. I must have done something wrong. I must have eaten something wrong. What did I do? And I didn't get this answer straightforward. But if you read in between the lines, it was kind of like, we don't do that here, right? What we do is we diagnose and prescribe, and, that's it.
This is our algorithm. That's it.
Yeah, that's the algorithm. Yeah. Diagnose it, which, in some cases is really needed, right? But for chronic disease, aging, energy, all that stuff, there's a very different route we should take. So ultimately, I went down this functional medicine rabbit hole. I discovered my own genome was broken. There was pieces missing, pieces that were really doing well, pieces that were doing poorly. From that, I started building the DNA company as a research company. And you'll learn in the book that there was this sort of critical moment where my niece got sick, and I realized that, wow, everybody needs this. It doesn't matter what the problem is. Like, there's a way to dive into your human instruction manual and solve most problems. That's why I decided to write the book, because I realized it's not just about our research, not just about our work with clinicians like yourself. Like, everybody needs to know whether they have a DNA test or not. There's a different way to think about your body. There's a miracle in each one of our cells. We have 50 trillion cells. Each one has an instruction manual that's telling your cells what to do, and you haven't read it. You haven't read that instruction manual to even see how your body works. So that blew my mind, and that's why I put the book together.
No, absolutely. Because unfortunately, again, as I said at the beginning, medical doctors are taught this way.
Yeah.
One size fits all. But it's not a one size fits all. It's a personalized approach. And that's what we can get from reading our instruction manual that unfortunately most of us haven't done, even us as functional medicine practitioners. So I will definitely be getting in on that, because there's hope. Because again, I know that the way that just you talked about the story of your niece, that if we took your niece then or anybody who's dealing with mental health issues or anxiety or depression or any of these chronic health conditions, that we start to blame them, not the environment that we put them in, right? So if we truly understood our genes, can you explain that? How if we truly understood our genes, then we wouldn't.
So I would say the mood and behavior, call it mental health stuff, was a big aha moment for me personally. And the only reason why we learn this stuff is We spent 3 years with 7,000 patients,
That's awesome.
right?
7,000.
Yeah,
So you
one
have
by
their
one
genetic
by one.
codes in front of you.
Yeah,
Yes.
because what I learned, like again, looking at it from the outside, it's like this doesn't work. And the geneticists are really good at the genetics, but they don't know how to treat a patient. The doctors are really good at this, but they don't understand the personalization. So someone had to sort of come in the middle, draw from both. So we literally set up a clinic in Toronto, one by one by one by one, said, tell us your problem that you can't fix, and we will figure it out. And we did this for 7,000 people, and that's why we learned. So one of the things that was really a big wow moment was because we studied 7,000 people, we saw how they behaved, we saw how they acted. They use words like anxiety, depression, addiction, burnout. And the thing that I learned, none of these things need to happen unless it's innate. There's some people that have a chemical imbalance, they have depression. That's a tiny fraction of the people that claim to have mood and behavior issues. The majority is developed. There's a cause, it's chronic, right? What I learned is most of these things that equal words like anxiety, depression, burnout are actually somebody's superpower. It's the thing that allows them to do what they were supposed to do, and they're in the wrong context. Let me use myself as an example, which is in the book. So when it comes to dopamine, that's the chemical that allows you to experience pleasure, right? Pleasure or reward. I eat some tasty food. I see this beautiful book cover. I get excited, right? That's dopamine. So the way your body does that is not the same for all of us. There's a gene called DRD2 that determines how dense the receptors are in your brain to actually bind and experience dopamine. So when we smell the tasty food, the level of pleasure we get is different for all of us. Mine is way down here. I have the lowest possible density of receptors, so it's very hard for me to experience pleasure and reward, right? Then there's this gene called MAO that breaks the dopamine down because eventually you need to get back to normal, right? So I have a really fast MAO. Then there's another gene called COMP, which is like the broom that comes and cleans up that broken up dopamine to get rid of it. I also have a super fast COMP. So I feel it way down here. It's very hard for me to feel pleasure. It's gone like that before it even starts. I should be depressed right now because the world sucks. Nothing's good enough. I can't get no satisfaction, right? And guess what? There's times where I was contextually based. I'm not now because the same thing that leads to depression also leads to achievement and entrepreneurialism, that drive, what we call warrior genetics. I need to be pushing myself and pushing myself. So I've been armed with this tool, and I've been in the wrong context, not trying hard enough, and been depressed. But now that I am entrepreneurial, it is my superpower. And anyone that uses words like anxiety, depression, etc., all those things, if you understand the chemicals that drive that feeling, you'll understand that this is actually a tool that was meant to benefit you. You're just not using it, and now it's being a crutch instead of a superpower.
Oh my gosh. What can you imagine if we started to use this tool to, again, you did that amazing TEDx talk with if we could parent our children this way, right? With if we knew their genetics and then we could put them in the context that can make them accelerate and thrive in those environments, determined upon their DNA.
Yeah.
That what just blew my mind. Because, so let's go through first that how somebody can then start to, where to start.
Sure.
Right? Where to start, because again, a lot of people come to me with these chronic health conditions. And yes, I'm doing diet and lifestyle and stress, but then how do we then start to incorporate all of this amazing advice for ourselves, like actual personalize it?
Yeah.
How do we take it to the next level?
So when I look at those 7,000 people during research, we've done way more than that now, but that was our research, right? I would say the three areas, one specifically for women and two more for everybody, right? The three areas that really stood out that needed fixing right away and caused major change. One was our lack of understanding of how the environment is making us sick, right? So the way that our body detoxifies chemicals, protects our gut from the things that come along with our food, the way that our body deals with inflammation, we do that differently. So you're sitting at the table, and 3 people are fine and one person has a stomach ache. That person may have the bad versions of the genes to protect their
Mhm.
stomach from the pesticides, chemicals, food coloring that came along with the food. 4 people walk into a factory, 3 people are fine, and one gets a headache. Because one person may have the not so good version of the GSTP1 gene to actually breathe and prevent that toxicity in the air from entering their bloodstream. Right? So you start to personalize these things and
Mhm.
understand that here's the habit that's going to make me sick. Not makes people sick, makes
Mhm.
me sick.
Music,
Right?
personalization,
Yes.
yes.
And now I have 2 choices. I can either remove these habits from my life, which you should do,
Mhm.
or I can supplement. So I now I know what job isn't doing well in my body. This piece of my code is broken. So I
Mhm.
know if I take this supplement, eat these food, it will push that job up. So if
Mhm.
I know that I don't detox well at the lungs and I need to be able to enter factories because it's part of my job,
Mhm.
well, maybe I need to be taking some NAC and glycine and milk thistle and things that
Mhm.
support this broken pathway that I have. I can very hyper personalize what I actually need. So that's a big one, environmental.
Mhm.
Second big one was food.
Mhm.
I can't tell you how many people we were working with that were on a keto diet, that were vegan, that, were low carb, whatever, and it was not actually the
Not
right,
working. It was
right?
not working for them. Yep, I see that on a regular basis.
Me, I
Yeah.
tried keto, right? And in the first few weeks, everyone feels great on keto. It doesn't matter how you're wired because you
Mhm.
get into ketosis, you're burning fat, your ketones start firing in your brain, you feel great, right?
Mhm.
5, 6 weeks into it, some people start to feel sluggish. And they don't blame it on their diet because they felt so good in those first few weeks. So there's one gene that metabolizes saturated fats. And if, like me, you have the bad version of it, keto is not going to work for you. It's going to make you sick
Mhm.
eventually, right? Same thing with starch, same thing with insulin response, same thing with the enzymes that you need to break down your chickpeas, lentils, beans, all the proteins that vegans eat. So if you don't do that well, you're going to get sick after a while, right? But if you do it well, great, go do that. Now, the third one, where I would say is the area that needs the most change and the most support in healthcare, we learned unintentionally from helping so many people, is everything around female hormone health, right? So everything from I'm in puberty and I'm getting my menstrual cycle and I don't understand what's going on to fertility age, all the way up to menopause. All this stuff is treated as, yeah, it's your hormones. You're supposed to have problems. Good luck.
Mhm.
That's really the medical
Put
answer.
them on a birth control pill or whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah. And then you have words like, or conditions like PCOS,
Mhm.
endometriosis, infertility, crazy menstrual cycle. None of this stuff needs to happen. None of it. Right? If you understood that the hormone cascade, if you look at the genes that actually make testosterone, make estrogen, determine what quality of estrogen you make, there's different metabolites. Some are toxic, some aren't. How well do you clear those from your body? Some people do a good job, some people don't. You can then start to make really personalized choices and feel amazing. I can't tell you how many women come to us that said, I have fibromyalgia, that don't have it anymore. How many women that were going to be getting surgery for endometriosis
And they
don't.
probably tried it everything else.
They tried everything. Yeah, they read every book, done every podcast. And guess what? The person that you watch on the YouTube video that says, try this, it's going to work amazing, it probably worked for them. And they're honest, right? But they're not you.
Mm-mm.
So you may eventually find that thing. Like if you watch that YouTube video and they said this is amazing, I'm sure they spent 3, 4, 5 years trying different stuff before they found that thing that worked. And that's why they're screaming from the rooftops, do this, do this, do this,
Yeah,
right? Who are you on the inside? We're all different.
all different.
We're all different. So now all of a sudden, if you can discover that, especially when it comes to everything around female health, where there's so many
Mhm.
more problems, you can just feel so much better. And we've done this over and over and over again.
Oh my gosh. Well, 7,000 people.
Yeah.
That's like enough. Wow. And then what I really love about this is that you actually, that we have those biographies that talk everything about your life. You literally tell us everything about your DNA. And you've got like guided us through like what your genetics are and then how you the set of instructions that work well for you, so then we can understand that once we get this DNA test, how specialized it's going to be for us.
Yeah, and I thought that was the best way to do it. Is I'm the guinea pig. This was my healing journey, and if you understand how I did it, there's two things. You'll understand how it works, but you'll also understand how easy it is. And I think that was one of the biggest problems with genetic research up until we did our research, was it was too hard to use.
It
Like,
was too
even
hard to use and complicated. And I think that's why,
complicated.
as a practitioner, I've sort of walked away from this,
Yep.
because it is complicated. But then
Most
you
doctors,
did.
yeah,
You
most
made it
doctors will
really
say the same thing.
simple.
Yeah. And that was part of the challenge. It was actually one of our patients during the research phase. So there's a company in Canada called Rogers, which is our biggest telecom. It's like our Verizon, right? And one of their C-suite, I shouldn't say who to point them out, but one of their chief officer type people
Mhm.
has a autistic son, and we were doing a lot of work with that family. And he said to me, "What you guys have is going to change the world. The only thing stopping you is you need to make it easy to use."
Absolutely.
And from that day, that became my mission. Like, just like a switch went off, and I just felt like, how do I make this so that a guy like me who has no background in this gets it? And that's what we did, and that's really why we wrote the book, so that you can get it, whether you've been tested or not. You understand how your body works, and you can start to think like that.
Absolutely. Everybody, it's on shelves right now. The DNA Way. Everybody needs to get this book. It really helps you understand yourself in a little bit more depth than any other book has ever done before. Like, to a
Wow.
totally different. Yes, I'm telling you, it is amazing. This is a must have on every shelf. We need to start doing DNA tests. We do, because that's what I'm going to start setting up for. So then I can really personalize even the way that I parent my children, and the way that I feed them, and the supplements that I give my family, my patients, even medications. You even talk about that, like
Yeah.
how statins, how like a lot of people don't respond to statins the way that they should.
We're actually launching next month an entire pharmaco report that covers every major drug. So we did so now all these people that are taking all these pills that are having side effects,
Yeah,
or don't know if it's the right dose, or is this even the right, like, which version do I take, especially when it comes to mental health. There's a lot of people that have go through a lot of trial and error before they find something that works. So yeah, we did an entire panel. It's launching next month, just on drug interactions for the people that do need medication. But let's give you the exact precise dose that your body needs, and the exact version that your body can actually metabolize properly. And then you'll feel amazing, as opposed to a little bit sluggish. Sometimes people get on a statin and they get myopathy and pain and different
absolutely.
problems, right? That doesn't need to happen. We can just be precise with how your body uses it and give you exactly what you need.
Absolutely. And specifically, when you talked about the mental health aspect there, before we would put patients on SSRIs, it could take weeks to know that even if it was working or not.
Yeah.
And they may be even dealing with side effects, but they're like, no, we need to see if it continues to work, see if it works. We're putting people through miserable times when they're already miserable.
Yeah.
And so this is a great way to, like, literally, you're taking functional medicine to the next level, and even medicine. Everybody needs to this. Awesome, awesome. Again, where else can people find this? Do you have any, like, on your website? Can you tell us
Yeah.
people can learn
So
more about you and your DNA company?
So there's two websites. So the DNA Way, just like the book, there was a website set up for the book, just if you want to see a little bit and understand. And I think there's like a sample chapter there, the DNA Way. And then our website is the DNAcompany.com. That's where the testing is. So the DNAcompany.com. And it's called the 360 test, which will tell you everything from about your sleep, about your hormones, about your diet and how your body metabolizes different vitamins and foods. It will tell you about your immunity of your cells, your health of the cells, detox, all this stuff. It will tell you about your brain, all the chemicals of your brain, and what levels and how you clear them, which may explain how you feel. Why do I have trauma? Why do I have mood issues? Why do I get angry all the time? That stuff doesn't even need to happen if you understand the way your brain works. And then the other big one is chronic conditions. So there's so much cardiovascular disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, all this stuff. All of these things are preventable. All of them. If you understood why they happen. Let me use that as an example. So in the book I talk about one of my friend who was on a statin, actually, right? So this guy at the time was 38, and he is a pharmacist, so he understands medication. But at 38, he was already taking Lipitor, statin for cholesterol, and it kept getting worse. Right. And he ended up with myopathy, the pains and all that. And he's like, I can't handle this anymore. What do I do? So we looked at his genetics, and we weren't looking for a cholesterol gene. What we were looking for is what jobs does his body not do well? That was it. Because we can then translate that to the problem. All of these symptom-based diseases or symptom-based view, we don't look symptom down. We look system up. What system is failing? That always equals the problem. So what did we find? We found that the 9p21, which determines here's your artery, right? All the arteries around the heart. The inner lining where the blood actually touches is called the endothelium, right? So now the endothelium is this little membrane that coats this inner lining. He had the worst quality version. We can determine that with your genes, right? So he had this like paper thin version. So not the heart. The heart didn't have a problem. The arteries were low quality, bad hardware, right? So now, even then, take that doesn't mean you're going to be sick, because he could have no stress, good food, all that. Something has to trigger inflammation. Diseases are rooted in inflammation. He wasn't born with inflammation. So what triggered it? Well, the thing that I was talking about earlier, GSTP1, he had the bad version of the genes that allow him to block toxins from entering his body from breathing, inhalation based, right? He used to golf 4 days a week. Now, when you golf 4 days a week in Canada, the use of pesticides is a chemical called PAR3, which is very toxic. He was breathing that in for 4 or 5 hours, 4 days a week. So that was coming into his body without his genetic ability to detoxify, right? Some people have no problem. They do a really good job of detoxing it. He didn't. So now these chemicals and free radicals are in his bloodstream, causing inflammation to that bad hardware that he has, right? The body's response to inflammation is to actually send cholesterol as a hormone to reduce the inflammation. It's like a Vaseline that smooths out all the broken parts, right? Now, there's a gene called ApoE that determines how efficiently your body moves cholesterol around in your body. He had the bad version of that too. So now this job of my body's trying to use cholesterol to protect the damage that I caused by breathing in all the chemicals.
And you can't detoxify.
That it can't detoxify on this bad hardware that is prone to inflammation. So he was suffering from 60, 70-year-old type inflammation at the age of 38. And he was on a cholesterol pill, and it kept getting worse because the pill is just reducing the cholesterol number, and the cholesterol was there to protect the damaged artery. That's what it was trying to do. The real disease was inflammation, and that was rooted in his inability to detoxify what he breathes. So we changed, and that's an example of deconstructing a chronic disease, and the disease is the very last thing we should be talking about. Why does it happen? Why? The very question that I asked my doctors, why do I feel like this? Not what is it, tell me what it's called. Why? What did I do wrong? This is what he did wrong. His habits were not aligned with his genetic capacity. And guess what? I worked with him for, I don't know, it was 3 or 4 months. He's not on a pill anymore. He doesn't take a statin anymore.
Why? And then you've given him some supplements to help with the...
So we changed his habits, right? So he can't be breathing in 4 or 5 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
And we gave him supplements. So first of all, let's give you supplementation to make this better quality, the endothelium. There are supplements to do that.
Yeah.
Let's give you some
specific for his genetic makeup.
Yes. Yeah. Let's give you some supplements to support with the detox that you don't do, right? Let's help you with also the mood and behavior part, because he had this anxiety issue. So we also help with that. And all of a sudden, fast forward, I think it was about 4 months-ish, he doesn't have a disease anymore. There's no pill. There's no need for a pill. We unwound it and broke it down. Now, where would that have led to by the age of 48 and 58? He would have been pretty sick. Doesn't need to happen.
Doesn't need to happen. And if we truly could read our genetic code, our blueprint, we could give our body exactly what it needs so that doesn't happen. And put ourselves in situations that don't happen, because that we can control. So the first thing that you guys can do today to control all that is to get this book, The DNA Way. And then also, like, your Instagram scares me. Like, I am sharing it all the time. Just this morning, the context one, I'm like, oh God, I'm wearing that one for years. I'm telling you, this, Kashif, you are literally God sent to really change humanity for the better, to empower us with knowledge, not just with the things that are going on the day to day, but even our genetic codes to even understand ourselves better.
Yeah.
So thank you guys. Check out this book today. Everybody needs it, literally. And then where can we get some of these genetic testings then done?
That would be at our website,
Okay,
theDNAcompany.com.
perfect.
You know, I want to honor everyone's time for being here today, so I can even set up a promo code for everybody, like a discount, right? So
Awesome.
yeah, so I would say, let's say thednacompany.com/holistic. Should we do
Oh,
that?
perfect. I
Right?
love it.
Yeah, so I'll set that up right after I get off of here, and I'll make sure, don't buy retail, don't go to the website and buy retail. Go to thednacompany.com/holistic.
And I'll put that in the description.
Yeah,
/
and then
holistic.
you'll get a discount at the checkout. You'll see it at the checkout.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kasha, for all that you're doing in the world. Sending my love to your mother, FYI.
Oh, thank you.
And your wife and everybody. But everybody check out this book today. And we all need this to really change our future with better tools. Everything else is accelerating. Why not medicine, right?
Yeah.
So thank you again. Thank you, everybody.